Alright, up next we have the Vincent Price collection. So this has 6 of his films. Now these were put out by Shout Factory, and these are great releases. Um, you have 6 of his movies. You have, better look at it here, The Pit and the Pendulum, which is a fantastic Edgar Allan Poe story. Mask of a Red Death, The Haunted Palace, which is pretty cool. The Fall of the House of Usher, The Abominable Dr. Phibes, and Witchfinder General, also known as the Conqueror Worm. Now, these are great sets, focus, but the downside is that, well, when Shout Factory put these out, they were not, they were essentially limited releases, and this is the only one of the 3 sets that was re-released. The other 2 are extremely expensive. Like the second one alone will cost you about $115, which is insane. The third one, maybe not as much, but still very pricey. My advice, if you want the Vincent Price movies that were put out by Shout Factory, go to Kino. Go to Kino. They re-released all of them, or at least most of them that I'm aware of. So go get those instead. Yogi Bear. It's fine. It's perfectly serviceable. It does its job. I liked Justin Timberlake as Boo Boo. I did, and Dan Aykroyd's pretty decent as Yogi Bear. No, it's not a great movie. I'm not even saying that it is. But what I'm saying is, it does its job. It does its job, and it's perfectly okay. It's certainly better than Flintstones Beaver Rock Vegas, that's for sure. Here is an excellent film. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Elizabeth Taylor captured her second Oscar for portraying the wife of a married couple who live in this college dorm, like college campus, and they're a completely dysfunctional couple who they constantly shout insults at each other and, get drunk, and they basically just shout more insults at each other. And joining them is on this merry-go-round of nightmare. And joining them on this demented merry-go-round is Sandy Duncan, who won Best Supporting Actress, and I'm blanking on his name right now. George Segal, yeah. It's really more of a film about 4 tragic characters. One in a dysfunctional and often abusive relationship, and another, who take the brunt of it. But this is really excellent adaptation of Edgar Albee's play. And I like how it takes place in one location and it doesn't need to go all over the place. Here's an underrated one. I don't know how many people have seen this film, but this is a film about Shirley MacLaine who falls in love with all these men, and she can't figure out why they don't stay in her life very long. Great ensemble cast. My idol, Dick Van Dyke, Paul Newman, Gene Kelly, Robin Mitchum, Dean Martin, Bob Cummings. Yeah, I'm not sure if this has been re-released or not. I think Kino might have put it out, but I can't really find it. But this is a very underrated... This is an underrated film. People don't talk about this one, but it's worth checking out. Unsane. This is an underrated little film with Claire Foy, in which a woman believes that she is being chased by someone, and then she ends up in a mental institution, and you have to figure out whether or not she's telling the truth, whether she's imagining this person or not. And it's actually really interesting because it goes in directions you don't actually expect, and it actually really works. Trick or Treat. Oh, yes. I watch this every Halloween. This is the best anthology horror film that I can recommend to you. A film set on Halloween, taking place over a course of a single night. And, there's like 4 different stories, 4 different lives that all interconnect on this one night. It's absolutely brilliant. Brilliantly made. And this feels like a Halloween film. Like, it has the feeling of Halloween. It has the atmosphere of Halloween. It is fantastic. If you're sick and tired of, the John Carpenter classic and you want something that, is set on Halloween and is very different and it actually makes you feel like you're living, the Halloween experience, check this out. Anyway, Undefeated, the Oscar-winning documentary about the students of Manassas High School in Memphis, Tennessee, and the football coach who inspires them to be the best version of themselves they can be. And you have to understand, these students grew up in really bad environments. Some of them have learning disabilities. Some of them grew up in like bad neighborhoods and such. And football is like the one thing that gets them to come to school every day. But at the same time, they have to not only work on their academics, but also themselves, in order to, carry the same level of commitment in their personal lives as well as on the football field. It's really good. Waiting for Superman, a criminally underrated documentary about the education system and how fundamentally flawed it is. Not only that, but also the unnecessary, but it's basically a film dealing with this lottery system that students have to go through in order to get into public school, and how some, they come from like low-income families, and how they, they're not able to give their child a good education. So they're basically stuck dealing with this lottery system. And, we should be able to give every child, no matter who they are, where they came from, the opportunity to succeed in school. And with this, the system and with the system that was in place, I'm not sure if it's that way now, but back in 2010, when this was made, this lottery system was in strong effect. And it's pretty upsetting that a lot of moms, they feel for their child, and maybe they want them to get, good education, but again, they got to deal with this lottery system, and some get accepted and some don't. It's a very eye-opening documentary. Look at that. 2 actors I don't care about in the same movie. I just don't, I don't know. This was a donation. I wouldn't normally watch this Sandra Bullock and Hugh Grant movie, 2 weeks notice. What even is this? Why? Oh man. I don't even know why I have that. I don't know why I have that. You're better off watching Urban Cowboy with John Travolta. This is kind of an underrated film, actually. People don't know about this one. John Travolta and, I'm blanking on what her name is. She was in, Deborah Wainer, yeah. This is pretty decent movie. Not a masterpiece, but not a bad one ever. U-571. Oh, God. One of the most insulting war films ever made. Okay. So, this film is about the capture of the U-571 German submarine. That they're trying to... They infiltrate a Nazi U-boat, and they're trying to get a notorious German submarine. I think the U-571, or no, I think it's the U-10. I think that's what it is. Yeah, the U-10. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've seen this. Anyway, so we're trying to capture this U-boat, mainly because it has the Enigma machine, which the Germans use to send encrypted messages from one Enigma machine to another, and they try to make it impenetrable. Basically, have it so that you can't actually read what the messages were saying. Here's the problem, though. The British captured it, not the Americans. Why are we giving credit to people who were never even there? I just find that so disrespectful. I just find it so disrespectful that we're giving credit to people who were never even there. Like, it's not, and even the end credits, you know, basically shoot for their own movie in the foot, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. You know, once you find that out, it's like the whole movie's ruined for you. You're better off watching Das Boot. Das Boot is way more. Das Boot is way better than U571. It's claustrophobic, suspenseful. The characters are kind of interesting, and you spend enough time on the boat where you almost feel like you're living it, in a sense. Under Siege, Steven Seagal. You know, on a military cargo ship. Or, no, it's a military. No, if it's an aircraft carrier. Yeah, it's an aircraft carrier. Okay, yeah. I believe they made a sequel to this, which I don't have at the moment. UHF. Weird Al's first movie. And surprisingly, there's only one. Yeah, I've listened to the soundtrack for this plenty of times. I know some of the references from this movie. I love the title track, UHF. I like the, I just like this, you know, I'm a big Weird Al fan, so, yeah. Of course, I gotta have that. Unbreakable, the first in the Elstree 77, or 175 trilogy. I don't remember what it was called. Anyway, but yeah, this film, it kind of explores the idea of what happens if superheroes didn't exist, if superheroes actually existed in real life, like what would happen? Bruce Willis is the survivor of this train crash, and Samuel Jackson believes in superhuman abilities. That's one of M. Night Shyamalan's better movies. Up. I'm going to tell you this right now. I never liked Up. I never did. That one 5 minutes of life scene was good. The music was great. But I just never connected with the story at all. I never did. I never connected with it. It was just fine. I think there were much better movies that came out in 2009, like Princess and the Frog, and, there were many others that were better. Fantastic Mr. Fox, even. I understand why it connected with people. It just didn't connect with me. But the one aspect of this movie that was good was Ed Asner as the main character. And when I met him, he signed that for me. Yeah, when I met him, he was really a nice guy. I talked to him, I told him a story of how when my mom, in the 1980s, she went through teeth surgery, and Mary Tyler Moore's show was on playing in the hospital, and that show helped her get through surgery. And when I told him that, he's like, that was really touching. And I told him that my favorite quote of his is from Mary Tyler Moore show, where he tells Mary Tyler Moore, "You got spunk. I hate spunk." And I told him that, and he said, nah, that's a lie. I like spunk. And me and my friend Shree, we posed a photo of him, and he punched me in the shoulder, and that was really cool. Very nice guy. Meeting him. I actually should have had him sign my copy of Elf, because I loved him in that movie more than that one. But anyway, Under the Tuscan Sun, not a bad movie at all. I don't even know why I have this. Okay, look, I watched it. It's actually not bad. It's a rom-com, but it doesn't go the way you'd expect. It doesn't go the way you'd expect. So, and this movie was actually based on a memoir, the same name, so yeah. The Untouchables, a excellent crime film by Brian De Palma. This was based on, or at least partially based on, the TV show with Robert Stack. Anyway, you have Elliot Ness and his gang trying to take down Al Capone. Kevin Costner, Andy Garcia, Robert De Niro as Al Capone, and an Oscar-winning performance by Sean Connery as one of the members of the group. Yeah, this is great. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember really enjoying that. Urban Action Collection. So we have a couple blaxploitation films here. Black Belt Jones, Black Samson, Hot Potato, and Free the Hard Way. Black Belt Jones, I've definitely heard of. I've only seen bits and pieces of it, but I know of it. Jim Kelly was in Enter the Dragon, and after that he got his own little film career. Free the Hard Way is great. Underrated action flick, also with Fred Williamson and Jim Brown. The other two I have not heard of at all, so it'll be kind of interesting. United 93. Okay. I remember when this came out, everybody was essentially pointing to this movie as they were asking the question, is it too soon? Because this and World Trade Center, which I used to have, but I don't have it anymore, they were coming out roughly around the same time. And people were asking, like, is it too soon? But this is a fantastic film by Paul Greengrass, and it makes you actually respect the people who sacrificed their lives to prevent a greater tragedy, on top of what was already going on with the World Trade Center and the Pentagon on that tragic day. So it actually pays respect to the victims and actually displays what happened on United 93 pretty honorably. I highly recommend this one. Although the only downside is what happened in those last moments weren't released until later on after this movie, or at least the audio recordings of it weren't released until later. But we all know what happened. We all know. Unstoppable, about a runaway train. It's been a while since I've seen this film, so I'm not gonna say anything. I just remember, like, the train, being unable to stop. That's all I remember. V for Vendetta. This is a great little film. This is like if you took George Orwell's 1984 and merged it with The Matrix. There's a lot of drama in this film, especially the scenes with Natalie Portman, that are really well done. Hugo Weaving's great as the anonymous guy who's rebelling against the conformity and Orwellian future of sorts. And yeah, it's just a really really interesting film for sure. Definitely, worth checking out. Great cast. Also with John Hurt in that one. Vacation. Yes, I like this and Christmas Vacation. I like both of those. Vacation's great because it's basically everything that can go wrong during summer vacation. Like, everything that can go wrong. And Chevy Chase basically hijacking his family and forcing them to go on a trip they don't want to go to. He, like, takes them on a vacation to Wally World, which was kind of funny. I understand that the National Lampoon movies are not everyone's cup of tea, but there are some good ones out there. Valley of the Dolls. Okay, so this movie was based on a Jacqueline Suzanne novel about prescription drug addiction. And essentially, yeah, this movie's great. Great cast. Patty Duke, Susan Haywood, who was a replacement for Judy Garland, who Judy Garland was originally supposed to be in this. Sharon Tate. Is Jacqueline Bisset in here? I'm blanking on her name right now. Hang on a minute. Let me see. But yeah, it's actually a pretty good movie, actually. Barbara Perkins, that's her name, Barbara Perkins, yeah. Ree Grant as well. Yeah, sort of parts of this movie were modeled after, Patty Duke's character was modeled after Judy Garland, in a sense. And yeah, it's a pretty good movie. I have not seen Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, which was the Russ Meyer satire parody-ish. I don't know what you call it, but I haven't seen it. I also have not seen this, Valkyrie. the true story of the man who tried to assassinate Adolf Hitler during World War II. I'm blanking on what year exactly. I'm blanking on what year it was. It was 1940. I think it might have been 42. Anyway, Tom Cruise, Tom Wilkinson, Kenneth Branagh, Bill Nighy. I heard this was really good, so I'll probably have to give this a watch sometime. But this is... Yeah, I've definitely heard of that, for sure. Definitely. Vampires suck. Okay. This is crap, but it's, like, funny. Anyway, yeah, this is basically the parody of Twilight. And yes, this movie did spoil Breaking Dawn for me. So I really... Honestly, I didn't really have to watch Breaking Dawn because I already kind of knew what would happen, honestly. It wasn't really much of a surprise. Vanity Fair, a pretty decent period piece with Reese Witherspoon. I believe this is set during the 18th century. I believe. I could be totally wrong, though. Becky Sharp. Okay. So yeah, I heard of this one movie that features the character of Becky Sharp called I believe it's just called Becky Sharp, and it was one of the first free color films. So yeah, I'm not sure if Becky Sharp is a real person or not, but I don't know. Doesn't really matter. Vantage Point. This is another one of those films where, like, it's told from, like, multiple different points of view, and they're all centered around the assassination of his president, played by William Hurt, and, you know, you have these, like, 8 different people, and they all have, like, different viewpoints. Yeah, I remember watching this, like, a long time ago. It's been a long time ago, long time since I've seen this, but I remember... I don't really remember it all that much, but I did remember seeing it at one point. Get it? Vantage Point, 1 point. Anyway. Varsity Show. In the 1930s, Dick Powell was one of the most popular musical stars, and he starred in a bunch of films, bunch of musicals. He was actually one of the more popular musical stars, and this was one of his more famous films. Also, 42nd Street. That's another one. This is another one of those college musicals. It's basically set at a college, and Dick Powell, like, he plays this star, and he goes back to his alma mater where they're trying to put on a show, but they don't. But you know, the school basically are like, no, we're not gonna let you perform. We're cutting funding and all that. Great musical numbers in this, actually. One of my favorite lines in the movie is where Dick Powell says, "We're gonna get some knowledge that we will never use again." I just thought it was so funny. It was so funny. Vertigo. God, I need to upgrade my copy of this. This is said to be one of... Everybody says, but this is one of Alfred Hitchcock's best films. I haven't seen this movie in so long. You know, I really need to, like, rewatch a lot of Hitchcock's filmography because a lot of his films are great. This is one of his more famous films, or one of his more, you know, standout films. And, of course, it has the famous score, the famous intro. And I do remember that dream scene, though. I do remember that dream scene and the opening sequence as shown here. But yeah, I really need to clean up my Hitchcock collection for sure. Vertical Limit, I don't even know why I have this. Is it? Yeah, is this like Cliffhanger? Yeah, it's like Cliffhanger. Okay, fine. Here's The Village. I knew I had it. This is one of M. Night Shyamalan's better movies by far. Set in this village out in the middle of, I don't even remember where. I remember watching this when I was younger, but to be quite honest with you, I don't really remember the story. So that's another one. Actually, I swear, there's like so many like directors I want to like revisit their works, and Steven Spielberg, Alfred Hitchcock. I want to like revisit their works and kind of analyze them and figure out how they evolve as filmmakers and such. There's plenty of them. Village of the Damned. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, this is a film I have not seen in so long. The only thing I remember about Village of the Damned was hypnotic children. Yes. That's all I remember. George Saunders is in here, also with Barbara Shelley. Yeah. I definitely remember Village of the Damned for sure, or at least kind of the concept of it. This also has Children of the Damned, which was the sequel, but don't remember that movie at all. Don't remember that movie at all. Volcano. Okay. Oh, yes, this takes me back. Okay, so I remember I would go to Blockbuster and I would rent, just whatever. And on several occasions, I would see this cover art for Volcano. And I would see it just kind of sit there like that. And I would just look at this cover and go like, what is happening here? Tommy Lee Jones, Volcano, epic, set in L.A. I actually remember the teaser for this where it was saying like there are 150 active volcanoes that we know about and one that we don't. Welcome to L.A. And I remember that trailer. This movie literally came out the same year as Dante's Peak, which Dante's Peak was really good, but it's been so long since I've seen this that I genuinely don't remember it all that much. And in case you're wondering, the Blu-ray of it is super expensive, so yeah, that's not going anywhere. The Vikings, a excellent film about the Vikings with a great cast: Kirk Douglas, Tony Curtis, Ernest Borgnine, and Janet Leigh. This is a great little movie that actually really does a good job at showing the life of Vikings, and it does it in like a really good kind of way. But yeah, I got a kick out of this one. You know what I used to have? I used to have Unforgiven. That Clint Eastwood film that won the third Western to win the Best Picture Oscar. I don't know where it is. I don't know where it is right now. Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Here it is. Yeah, here it is. Anyway, Unforgiven. The third Western, and so far the last Western to win the Best Picture Oscar. Clint Eastwood's so far last hurrah into the Man with No Name type of role. Gene Hackman's Best Supporting Actor Oscar win, also with Morgan Freeman. Yeah, this movie, it has been a very long time since I've seen this, but I remember really liking it. This is just a really well thought out, very meaningful Western with great performances, a great story, great cinematography, and overall just a real sense of character, and one of Clint Eastwood's best Westerns. Haven't seen it in a very long time. And the last film of this section, The Whole Nine Yards, with Bruce Willis, Matthew Perry, and Michael Clarke Duncan. Again, this is another donation, so I have not seen this. There was a sequel called The Whole 10 Yards, which I do not have at this time. Anyway, next section.